I'll focus on this. I want to give you some background. Creative Mesh, who is this? For some of you, we're new, and some of you have seen us with our previous products. Of course, here is the packaged straw harvest, which is a party add-on for the agriculture we've done with Aerosoft and Giant Software, and have provided as free of charge pack. Not only we have had several expansions with the Technical University of Dresden, with Lindner also, Lindner Super Cup Virtual. It's in the second season. If you're interested in it, go on their server and you can play with it and win some prizes. The flight simulator of Microsoft, we have expansions for. The FSL is quite well known. We sponsored the Team Krone, could win some prizes. Now let's continue with Creative Mesh. We have expanded our manpower, and with Vertex, we have good contact in the community. We know what they can do, what they have up their sleeves, and some of them have been included on our team. And that's only a part. Some of them had to stay home. I'm going to say hello in the stream. The rest of them is here on the left. Thank you for all of your efforts in the past months and years. Yeah, let's give them a big round of applause, all of those that have contributed to it. Let's move on to the actual system, the umbilical systems. It's a new form of manure delivery. And when you look at the two pictures, you see the conventional delivery with large tanks, with a lot of manure, a lot of weight. It has impact on the soil. It is dependent on the weather. We have to check whether the soil has enough load-bearing capacity. Often the tank is full, but it's more flexible, and the costs are less. Then the umbilical system, a lot less is we trail. The pressure on the soil is reduced. We only need to travel over the soil once. The yield and delivery of the manure can be done when it's moist, and the same tractor that's used on the field is not used on the field and on the road. The density of planning is high. We need to make sure where we route the hoses, and that make sure that the hose is not too short. Here you see the notion behind it. We don't have to transport the manure to the field with extra vehicles. We can take it from the farm directly and directly pump it to the field. And it's laid in an S curve. It's the delivery hose, and deliver it onto the field. If you don't want to pump it from the silo, you can use vehicles to transport it. What vehicles and implements are included in the pack? Here are the pumps. The smallest pump is a PU 100, a 3-point unit. It's a circulation pump. Then next to it, the PU 300. It includes a small water reservoir. Then pump wagon 122. It has multiple configurations. You can add a compressor, a platform with a quad, or where you can include the pump. You can decide whether you want to have a separated tank, one for manure and the other one for water. And next to it, the jumbo JC 450 pump container. If you need to have a little buffer alongside the field, you can use it. It has a pump integrated. And from there, you can move on to the field. How do we unwind the hoses? With a reel, a 3-point reel, then the DH 240, which is a combined reel, which can be folded down on, and you can wind 2 hoses, and the front tank reel with buffer tank for the delivery of the manure. Those are the delivery implements, the SP8040SS. It's an integrated system where the hose is coupled. It's very light, 8 meters wide. It's also very well suited for wet soils, for hilly conditions. And you see in the back the delivery unit. This is where the hose will be attached, and below the HS 5100 is an implement carrier for the umbilical system with a beam, lifting beam. Diverse combinations of manure injectors are possible. Let's talk about the manure injectors that can be attached. SP 1230. It's a small implement, low in weight. Next to it, SP 12260 is a heavier design where the manure can be separated and placed directly into the soil. And then the BS 900 is a manure injector for easy soil preparation.
Okay, some more implements. You've got a little compressor, 3-point compressor AC 115. Why do you need that? I'll tell you in a minute. Then you've got a water pump for water supplies. And then you've got the hose reels, hoses at different lengths and in different colors. And then you've got this coupling tool. And this is just an overview of the equipment presented so far, but this is not all. We'll see more of it, but the cover image of pumps and hoses tells its own story. And that brings us to the functions. How does it work? Well, there are 2 ways of doing it. You can actually supply liquid manure onto the field straight from the cow's shed, as it were. And second, you can use a tank vehicle to supply liquid manure to your fields and will actually feed it into your umbilical system at the edge of the field. You can buy hoses on pallets And you can just actually lay out hoses from the farm out into the fields. You can lay them in an S-curve to have some leeway and in order to make sure that the hose will not be too tight and taut. And then you will use the coupling key, which is used to just join various hoses to one another. And that will enable you to to lay out hoses from one end of the map to the other end. Coupling keys are also used to to move the ends towards one another, so as to enable coupling. And at the other end of the hose or the umbilical system, you will fit a spreading unit, an injector unit. The tool carrier has to be fitted with an injector proper. And then you can just actually fit the hose onto the end of this spreading unit. And the pump will be controlled by the spreading unit. So if you actually rev up the tractor engine, then you will also get your pump running. You can also vary your throughput. The pump without a circular mode needs more time. So what is a circular mode? Well, if you have a circular mode, the pump will keep on running so as to maintain the pressure. If you switch off the pump, the pressure will obviously go down inside the hose. And if you want to continue your spreading operation, you will have to start up the pump first. If the hose is too long or if it has got blocked, the spreading quantity might not be sufficient, and then you get this striped pattern. So I need a strong enough pump that is sufficiently strong for the length of the hose employed. And then you will actually get even spreading. And in addition, you can also use the front tank reel and that will just actually supply some preload of liquid manure. Now, the water pump also has an important function. If you actually have a water tank, you can just actually fill up the tank using the manure pump or the water pump. If you add some water, it will reduce wear and tear in the pump. And the compressor is used to clean the hoses. So once you have fitted the compressor onto the hosing system, well, this will help you purge the hoses, and in improve your throughput. And let's just try it out in the game. So this is not the final version yet. If there are some little glitches, just ignore them. Okay, we'll fill up the jumbo. On the other side you've got the water pump. How do you activate it? Well, you actually connect it and now it will supply water into the jumbo tank. So you have filled up the tank with 21,000 liters, and the water tank is also being filled up. Here you've got the tool carrier combined with the bison. And how do I unwind the hose? Well, you have to tell the reel whether you want to wind up or unwind your hose. And here you can see how the hose is being laid out. And as I mentioned earlier, it's always good to have a little leeway to make sure that the hose will not get too tight. And you also have your filling gauge down below. So you can also have different hoses on the same reel if there's still some capacity. I will actually unfold the tool carrier. And the bison. And now to connect the hose, we'll select the tool carrier. And with a Shift Q, we can connect the hose. I cannot start it yet, because the two hoses will have to be connected down here. So I've taken the connector key, or coupling key, and the control carrier is not lifted up or brought down by the normal lifting device. We've just received an error message telling us that the pump is not active yet. And now we can actually till the soil and spread some liquid manure at the same time, and you can see that it's very easy to drag the hose behind you. So we are moving towards the far end of the field. I can see the animation very nicely. It will be centered before it is lowered. Here we've got the auxiliary vehicle. And let's see what happens when it arrives at the headland. And you've got a little gauge here, and you also have the engine speed gauge. And when it revs up, you can also hear it. Now the pressure increases and the engine speed increases as well. You would have asked that question anyway, what is the physical behavior of those hoses? Well, they are just dragged behind, and we just want to make sure that they will not get jammed or stuck.